Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast on practicing speaking skills. I'm Linda, and with me is my co-host, Leo. We're super excited to have you here with us as we talk about one of the most important parts of learning English, speaking.
That's right, Linda. Hi, everyone. Whether you're just starting out with English or you've been learning for a while, speaking is something that really helps you become more confident and natural with the language. But we know that it can be a little scary or difficult at first.
So, Leo, let's start with a basic question. Why do you think speaking is one of the most important skills for learning English?
Great question, Linda. Speaking is important because it's how we connect with people. When we speak, we share ideas, ask questions, and express how we feel. It's like the main way we communicate in real life. Without speaking, it's hard to really use the language. What do you think, Linda?
Exactly. Leo, speaking is the skill that helps us use all the other skills, like listening, reading, and writing in real situations. When we speak, we take the grammar, vocabulary, and everything we've learned, and we turn it into communication. It's like putting the pieces of a puzzle together.
Yes, and it's also important because when we speak, we get immediate feedback. If you're having a conversation with someone and they don't understand, they might ask you to repeat or explain. This helps you improve quickly because you learn in the moment.
That's such a good point. When you read or write, you don't always know right away if you've made a mistake. But when you speak, you can see how well people understand you right away. And don't forget, speaking can help you improve your listening skills too.
Absolutely. When you have a conversation, you're not just talking. You're also listening to the other person, and that helps you hear how words are pronounced and how sentences are formed in real conversations. It's like a two-way street.
And don't be afraid of making mistakes. Speaking is a great way to learn from those mistakes. No one speaks perfectly when they're learning a new language. The more you speak, the better you get. Right, Leo?
Totally, it's normal to make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are a good thing because they show that you're trying. Every time you make a mistake and correct it, you get closer to fluency. So, the key is to keep speaking as much as you can, even if it feels uncomfortable at first.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about something that's really important when practicing speaking skills: confidence. It's easy to feel shy or nervous when you're learning a new language, but confidence can make a huge difference. How do you think learners can build confidence, Leo?
Well, one way to build confidence is to start with simple conversations. You don't have to jump into a long or difficult conversation right away. Start with short, easy conversations about things you know, like introducing yourself, talking about your favorite food, or describing your day. As you get more comfortable, you can try more challenging topics.
I love that idea. Starting small is so important. And another way to build confidence is to practice speaking every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. You can talk to yourself, record your voice, or even have a short conversation with a friend or family member. The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
Exactly, and remember, the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to communicate. If the person you're speaking with understands you, then you're doing a great job. Don't worry too much about grammar or vocabulary in the beginning. Just focus on getting your message across.
That's right. And one more thing, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're talking to someone and you don't know how to say something, just ask. Most people will be happy to help you find the right words or explain something if you're confused.
Yes, asking for help is really important. And it's also a great way to learn new words and phrases. When you ask someone how to say something, you're learning in a real situation, which makes it easier to remember.
So true, Leo. And speaking of new words, practicing speaking is also a great way to improve your vocabulary. When you're having a conversation, you might hear new words or phrases that you can use later. It's like learning by doing.
Absolutely. The more you speak, the more words you'll learn and the better you'll get at putting sentences together. And remember, vocabulary is important, but so is fluency. Fluency means being able to speak smoothly without too many pauses.
Yes, fluency is all about speaking naturally and with ease. And the only way to get fluent is to practice, practice, and practice some more. So don't worry if you're not fluent yet. Just keep speaking and you'll get there.
Well, that's all for part 1 of our podcast on practicing speaking skills. We hope this has helped you understand why speaking is such an important part of learning English.
Yes, and in the next episode, we're going to talk about some specific techniques you can use to practice speaking, even if you don't have someone to talk to all the time. So be sure to tune in for that.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and remember, the more you speak, the more confident you'll become. So don't be afraid to start speaking today, even if it's just a little bit.
That's right, Leo. We know that not everyone has a conversation partner or someone to practice with all the time, but that doesn't mean you can't still improve your speaking skills. There are lots of ways you can practice by yourself.
So, Linda, let's jump right in. What's one way learners can practice speaking when they're alone?
One of my favorite ways is to talk to yourself. Now, I know that might sound a little strange, but it's actually really helpful. You can talk to yourself about your day, describe what you're doing, or even pretend you're having a conversation with someone else. It helps you get comfortable with forming sentences and speaking out loud.
Exactly. Talking to yourself is a great way to practice without any pressure. And you can do it anywhere, in your room, in the car, or even while you're walking. The key is to say the words out loud, because it helps train your mouth to form the sounds and sentences in English.
Yes, and don't worry if you make mistakes. No one's listening, so this is the perfect time to experiment and try new words or phrases. You can even practice things like introducing yourself, asking questions, or talking about your hobbies. What's another good way to practice, Leo?
Another great method is recording yourself. This is a fantastic way to improve your speaking because you can listen to yourself afterward and hear how you sound. You can use your phone or any recording device and just talk for a few minutes about anything, maybe a topic you're interested in or something you learned recently.
Yes, and after you record, you can listen to it and ask yourself questions like, did I pronounce that word correctly? Or does this sound natural? It's a great way to notice things you might want to improve, like your pronunciation or the flow of your sentences. Plus, over time, you can listen to old recordings and see how much you've improved.
That's such a good point, Linda. It's really encouraging to hear the progress you've made after a few weeks or months. And if you're feeling confident, you can even share your recordings with a teacher or a friend who speaks English. They can give you feedback and help you improve even more.
Yes, feedback is so important. But even if you don't have anyone to give you feedback, recording yourself is still a valuable tool. And remember, you don't need to record long speeches. Just a few minutes a day can make a big difference.
Another way to practice speaking alone is to read aloud. If you have a book, a blog, or any kind of text in English, try reading it out loud. This helps you practice pronunciation and get used to the rhythm of English sentences. It's also a great way to learn new words.
Oh, I love that idea, Leo. Reading aloud is a great way to get more comfortable with how English sounds, especially if you're a little shy about speaking. You're still practicing, but with the help of a written text, so you don't have to worry about coming up with words on your own.
Yes, and here's another tip. When you're reading out loud, try to focus on intonation and expression. Intonation is the rise and fall of your voice, and it's important in English because it can change the meaning of a sentence. For example, if you're asking a question, your voice usually goes up at the end. If you're making a statement, it stays more level.
That's a great point. English has a natural rhythm, and practicing intonation can make your speaking sound much more natural. You can even try to mimic how native speakers talk. For example, if you're watching a movie or listening to an English podcast, pause and repeat what the speakers say, trying to match their tone and speed.
Yes, mimicking is a fantastic technique. You're basically copying the way native speakers talk, and it's one of the best ways to improve your pronunciation and fluency. It's like practicing with a model. You hear how the words should sound, and then you try to repeat them as closely as possible.
And if you don't understand every word, that's okay. The goal here is to focus on the sound and flow of the language. Over time, you'll get better at catching more words and sentences.
Another fun way to practice alone is to use language apps that focus on speaking. There are apps that let you record your voice or have short conversations with a virtual assistant. These can help you get more comfortable with speaking, and they often give you instant feedback on your pronunciation.
That's true. Apps can be really helpful for practicing specific phrases or having short conversations, especially if you're nervous about speaking to real people. It's a great way to practice in a safe environment.
And don't forget about shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to someone speak in English and try to repeat what they say at the same time. It's a little challenging, but it's a great way to improve your listening and speaking skills at the same time. You can use podcasts, YouTube videos, or even news programs for this.
I love shadowing. It's like you're speaking with a partner, but it's just you and the recording. It can really help you with your timing, pronunciation, and even confidence. You don't have to be perfect. The goal is to try to speak at the same time as the speaker and get used to the flow of conversation.
So, those are some great ways to practice speaking when you're alone. Remember, the more you practice, the more confident you'll become. It's all about getting comfortable with the language and making speaking a part of your daily routine.
Exactly, Leo. Whether it's talking to yourself, recording your voice, or shadowing a speaker, there are so many ways to keep improving, even when you don't have someone to practice with. So, start trying some of these methods today.
Hey, everyone, so far, we've talked about why speaking is important and how you can practice speaking by yourself. But today, we're going to discuss something really exciting, how to practice speaking with others. Whether it's with friends, language partners, or even online groups, practicing with other people is one of the best ways to improve your speaking.
Yes, Leo, speaking with others gives you the chance to use your English in real conversations, and it helps you learn how to respond naturally. It's also a great way to get feedback and learn from other people. So, let's dive right in.
Let's start with the most obvious way to practice speaking with others, talking to friends and family. If you have friends, classmates, or even family members who speak English or are also learning, take the opportunity to practice with them. You don't have to have long, serious conversations. Just chatting about your day or sharing your thoughts can be great practice.
Absolutely, and if you're both learners, it's even better because you're learning together. You can help each other share new words and give feedback. And don't worry if your English isn't perfect. The goal is to practice and improve.
Right, and it's also important to create a regular routine. For example, you can set up a weekly time to practice speaking with a friend, like a conversation hour. This helps you stay consistent, and consistency is key when it comes to learning a language.
That's a great point, Leo. Another great way to practice is to find a language exchange partner. Have you heard of language exchanges, Leo?
Yes, language exchanges are awesome. It's when you find someone who wants to learn your language, and you help each other. For example, if you speak Spanish and want to learn English, you can find an English speaker who wants to learn Spanish. Half of the conversation can be in English, and the other half can be in Spanish. It's a win-win.
Exactly, and you don't have to be in the same country to do this. There are so many websites and apps that help connect people for language exchanges online. It's a great way to practice with native speakers and learn more about the culture too.
Yes, and it's also really fun because you get to meet new people from all over the world. Plus, you don't have to feel nervous because they're learning too, so it's okay to make mistakes. You're both helping each other improve.
And speaking of meeting new people, another fantastic way to practice is by joining online language communities. There are many online groups and forums where people come together to practice speaking English. Some groups even have regular video calls or chat sessions where you can practice in a relaxed environment.
That's a great suggestion. There are websites, social media groups, and even apps like Zoom or Skype where you can join conversation clubs. Many of these groups are free, and they offer a safe space for people to practice without feeling judged.
Yes, and if you're shy about video calls, you can start with text chats first. Once you feel more comfortable, you can try voice or video chats. It's all about taking small steps and building your confidence.
And if you're looking for something more structured, you can take online speaking classes. There are many platforms where you can take one-on-one lessons with native English teachers or even join group classes. These classes focus specifically on improving speaking, so they're a great option if you want more guidance.
That's a fantastic idea, Leo. Online classes can be really helpful because they give you the chance to practice speaking with an experienced teacher who can correct your mistakes and help you with things like pronunciation and grammar. Plus, they often focus on everyday conversations, so you get to practice speaking in real-life situations.
Yes, and don't forget, you can also practice speaking while doing activities you enjoy. For example, if you like cooking, you can watch cooking videos in English and practice explaining the recipes to someone. Or if you enjoy games, you can play online games that require communication with other players. You'll be speaking English while having fun.
That's such a fun way to practice, Leo. When you connect speaking with activities you love, it doesn't feel like studying. It feels natural, and that's when real learning happens.
Speaking of real learning, another great tip is to role-play real-life situations with a friend or language partner. You can practice ordering food at a restaurant, checking into a hotel, or asking for directions. Role-playing helps you get comfortable with common phrases and expressions that you'll actually use when speaking English.
Oh, I love role-playing. It's such a practical way to practice. You can also try different scenarios, like job interviews or making small talk at a party. It helps you prepare for situations you might encounter in real life, and it's also really fun.
Yes, and if you don't have someone to practice with, you can always role-play by yourself or use a language app that simulates conversations. It's a great way to prepare for real-world interactions.
And speaking of real-world interactions, if you ever have the chance, try to speak with native speakers in everyday situations. This could be while traveling or even online through social media or language platforms. Don't be afraid to start small. Even a simple hello, how are you, can be a great start.
Yes, native speakers can help you learn how people really talk in everyday life. They can teach you new slang, expressions, and cultural aspects of the language. It's also a great way to learn how to respond naturally in different situations.
That's true. And it's important to remember that most people are very patient and supportive when you're learning their language. They appreciate the effort you're making to speak in their language, and they'll often help you if you get stuck.
So, those are some great ways to practice speaking with others. Whether it's with friends, language partners, online communities, or native speakers, the more you practice, the more natural your speaking will become.
Exactly, Leo. And remember, speaking with others is all about communication, not perfection. Don't worry about making mistakes. Focus on getting your message across. The more you speak, the better you'll get.
We've had an exciting journey so far, talking about why speaking is important, how to practice alone, and how to practice with others. Today, we're wrapping up the series by tackling something that many English learners face: overcoming challenges when speaking. Whether it's feeling nervous, not knowing what to say, or dealing with mistakes, these are all things we're going to discuss today.
Yes, Leo, a lot of learners feel scared or shy when it comes to speaking, and that's totally normal. We'll talk about some common challenges and how to overcome them, so you can feel more confident when speaking English.
Let's start with one of the most common challenges, feeling nervous or shy when speaking. I think this is something that almost every language learner goes through. What do you think, Linda?
Absolutely, Leo. Many learners worrying about making mistakes, sounding silly, or not being understood. But here's the thing, mistakes are a part of learning, and they're actually good for you. The more mistakes you make, the more you learn. So the first step in overcoming shyness is to accept that making mistakes is okay.
That's right. No one speaks perfectly, especially when they're learning. Even native speakers make mistakes, so don't let the fear of mistakes stop you from speaking. Remember, the goal is to communicate, not to be perfect.
Exactly. And one way to feel less nervous is to start with small conversations. If speaking with someone for a long time feels scary, try starting with short phrases. For example, you can greet someone with "Hi, how are you?" Or give a short answer like "I'm fine, thank you." Little by little, you'll build your confidence.
Yes, that's a great tip. Starting small can help you feel more comfortable. You can also practice what you're going to say before the conversation. For example, if you're going to a restaurant, think about what you might want to order in English. That way, you'll feel more prepared.
That's a good idea, Leo. Preparation can really help with nervousness. You can even practice common phrases that you'll use often. If you prepare and practice these phrases, they'll come more naturally when you speak.
Another challenge many learners face is not knowing what to say or forgetting words in the middle of a conversation. This can be frustrating, right?
Yes, it happens to everyone, but there are ways to handle it. First, if you forget a word, don't panic. Try to describe what you're trying to say with other words. For example, if you can't remember the word pillow, you can say, "It's the thing you put your head on when you sleep."
That's a good strategy. Describing the word you're looking for helps keep the conversation going. And many times, the person you're speaking to will understand and might even help you with the word.
Yes, exactly. And if you really get stuck, it's okay to ask for help. You can say, "What's the word for?" or "How do you say?" Most people are happy to help, especially if they know you're learning.
That's such a good point. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It shows that you're curious and willing to learn. Another tip is to use simple words when you're not sure. You don't need fancy vocabulary to communicate your message. Simple words work just fine.
Yes, you don't need to use big, complicated words to sound smart. Clear, simple sentences are often more effective in communication. And remember, the more you practice, the more words you'll remember. It's all about building your vocabulary over time.
Another challenge is speaking too fast or too slow. Some learners feel like they have to speak quickly to sound fluent, but that can make it harder to find the right words. On the other hand, speaking too slowly can make you feel like you're not fluent enough. What's the best speed, Linda?
That's a great question. Leo, I think the best speed is the one where you feel comfortable. You don't need to speak fast to sound fluent. In fact, speaking too quickly can make it harder for others to understand you, and it might cause you to make more mistakes.
So true, it's better to speak at a steady pace where you can think about what you want to say. And if you feel like you're speaking too slowly, that's okay. The important thing is that the other person understands you. Fluency will come with practice.
Yes, fluency takes time, and it's more important to speak clearly than quickly. Another tip is to pause when you need to think. It's okay to take a moment to gather your thoughts. You can use phrases like "let me think" or "give me a second" to buy yourself some time. This way, you stay in control of the conversation without feeling rushed.
That's a great idea. Linda, pausing also helps you avoid filler words like which can make you feel more nervous. Taking a moment to think makes you sound more confident and helps you avoid mistakes.
Another challenge is understanding fast or native speakers. Sometimes, when native speakers talk quickly, it can be hard to follow. But don't worry, you can still manage these conversations.
Absolutely. If you don't understand something, it's okay to ask the person to repeat or slow down. You can say, "Could you repeat that, please?" or "Could you speak more slowly?" Most people will be happy to adjust their speed for you.
Yes, and don't be afraid to ask for clarification if something isn't clear. You can say, "What do you mean by?" or "Could you explain that again?" It's better to ask and understand than to pretend you know what they're saying.
That's a great tip. You can also practice listening to fast speech by watching English movies or TV shows with subtitles. This helps you get used to the speed and rhythm of native speakers. Over time, your listening skills will improve, and you'll find it easier to follow conversations.
And one last challenge we should talk about is feeling embarrassed or frustrated when things don't go as planned. Maybe you tried to speak and didn't get your point across, or you made a lot of mistakes. It's normal to feel frustrated, but it's important to stay positive.
Yes, learning a language is a journey, and there will be ups and downs. The key is to keep practicing and not give up. Every time you speak, you're getting better, even if it doesn't feel like it right away.
Exactly. It's important to celebrate your progress, no matter how small. If you had a short conversation in English today, that's an achievement. If you learned a new word, that's progress. Be kind to yourself, and remember that every step forward is a success.
Yes, and remember, confidence comes from practice. The more you speak, the easier it will get. So don't be too hard on yourself if things don't go perfectly. You're doing great just by trying.
Well, that brings us to the end of our series on practicing speaking skills. We hope you found these episodes helpful and that you feel more confident about speaking English.
Yes, we've covered a lot, from practicing on your own to practicing with others, and now overcoming challenges. Remember, speaking English is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time and practice to improve.
Exactly. So keep practicing, keep speaking, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. You've got this.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We've really enjoyed sharing these tips with you, and we hope they help you on your English learning journey.
Until next time, keep speaking and keep learning. We'll see you soon.